When you're starting out as a natural health practitioner or a health coach, one of the most daunting tasks can be how to chart, how to figure out how to take notes on your clients. So pay attention. I'm going to teach you the top 3 notes that I take for each and every client. I'm going to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit so that you can see how I do it. If you don't know me, my name is Amanda Wentland. I have been in business in the natural health field for over 20 years. And now I enjoy getting to not only run our clinic and work with thousands of clients, but I also get to teach the next generation of healers and help you practice better. So today we're talking about notes, charting. This is definitely more than just a little bit of jot down notes, scribbled pen and paper while we're talking with our client. If we want to have accurate notes for any kind of reporting that we would be required to do later on in the process, it's already done for you if we've got the systems set right when we're doing the appointment. The most important part that I cannot emphasize enough is having a systems approach. A systems approach to your business, to your practice, lets you at some point take a few steps back and help your team, if you choose to have one, to be able to help you help your clients. The fact of note taking can be daunting because there are so many note systems, there are so many methods and mechanisms to use, and I believe highly in a systems-oriented approach. So you've created the system, your team knows exactly what to do to help you carry it out, or you know exactly what to do with your next steps when you're meeting with your client. But also, and more importantly, you have accurate notes for yourself so that you don't have to write the wheel every time that you work with a client. Yes, each client is an individual, but you start seeing a lot of the same symptoms. I see a lot of people with IBS. I see a lot of people with constipation. I see a lot of people with diarrhea. And so now we've already come up with a protocol. We've already come up with an approach. I can look back at my past notes and I can see the questions that I have asked as I'm interviewing this new client. So a systems-based approach to your charts, to your notes, is, in my opinion, absolutely essential if you want to live a little less stressed. It doesn't have to look like your first year in business every single year if you get a systems approach down. So there are 3 notes that I'm going to talk to you about that are part of my system. There are more forms and things that I add as parts of my systems, but the top 3 I'm going to talk about today. So get out your pen and paper and we will pull back the curtain and teach a little bit about these 3 notes. So the top 3, a case summary, a progress note, and a protocol. These are the top 3 must-haves for every client. Now, I remember being in school and the top question for everybody was, but I can't figure out the notes. I feel like I'm writing here and then I'm scrolling and then I'm scrolling up and then I'm scrolling down and I'm scrolling up and then the client's telling me something new and then I have to scroll here and then I have to scroll here. Here's how I get around that. Okay, I do everything. I had started off manually. I had a particular template form that I wrote with all of my notes. Now I do everything using computerized systems. So the case summary, let's talk about the case summary. Number 1, case summary is a quick summarized focus for this particular client. It has everything I need in a short little paragraph. What I love about this is when you start working with more and more clients, you're going to get forgetful about each client that you're working with. And it's really important to know the details, like, what they're doing for diet, what their diagnoses are, what they're on for medications, what they're on for supplements, if they're supplementing, what their readiness level is, what's the best way to approach this client. What I love about this is the client loves this too. It's a very easy, simple thing that they can print off and they can take it to any of their providers, and in a snap, that provider knows exactly the pertinent information about this client. So it works for a number of purposes, not just for my own. I start with the case summary, and this comes from their intake forms. Everything I do is automated and maps to another process. So right from the get-go, they are not just randomly filling out an intake form with basic questions. Each of those questions has a purpose, and it maps to my progress note and it maps to my case summary. Now, I use an electronic health record system so that I can automate and map my notes together. You do not need to start off that way. Learning in this lesson today, you can still be taking paper notes if you want to. You can still handwrite these notes, but just make sure you have the systems that we're talking about today in check. Now, The case summary, as I said, is just very focused, very efficient, the top details, so I can hand this to my team, I can hand this to another colleague that I'm working with, and I can say, here's the person that we're working with today, this is what we're doing. Or I can be, in my own practice, and I can pull this up before I have the next session with them, and I can remind myself what is of top priority to this client. So it starts off with their name, and it will say, Jane Doe is a 43 year-old F female. Jane Doe is a 43 YOF female office worker, referred by so-and-so, or referred by her doctor, referred by online search, presenting with concerns of. Okay, so you've got their name, their age, their gender, their occupation, their referral, so now you know where they came from. You have your presenting concerns. The next one is CX is diagnoses. Diagnosis is type 2 diabetes. Diagnosis is hyperthyroidism. Diagnosis is anxiety. If they don't have any diagnoses, then you just write no diagnoses. Medicated with blah, blah, blah. Supplemented with blah, blah, blah. And that's how they come into you, not after you've given them some suggestions. This is how they are coming into you. So name, age, occupation, how they were referred, how they found you, what their presenting concerns are, what their diagnosis is, what their medications are, what their supplements are. Now we can get into other things. What is the trigger? Client suspects stress. Did trauma precipitate? Trauma did precipitate symptoms. What is my family history? What is the client's history? What is their readiness level? And how are we helping them? How do they request help? And how are we helping them? So that is a template that I have that is the same for every client. Your template does not have to be the same as mine, but I've been doing this for a long time. And this, I find, summarizes everything at a glance that I would need to know. If I want to talk to them about a supplement option, I can look right at that case summary. I don't have to dig in their notes. I can look right at their case summary and see the medications that they're on, so I can check for potential interaction. If I want to suggest a protocol that includes therapies, but their readiness level says readiness for diet is 3 of 5, readiness for supplements is 4 of 5, readiness for movement is 1 of 5. They are not ready for that. That is not something that is interesting to them. Chances are likely that is not something that I want to put in my protocol. Now, once they understand, if I have an opportunity to explain why that part of the protocol would be important, they might change their mind on it. However, it's really important to meet a client where they're at. That readiness score helps you to identify they are more ready for supplements than they are to change their diet. They are more ready to work on stress than they are to work on the supplements. Now, this kind of, as you are getting ready to work with them and as you are getting ready to write a protocol for them, you can come back to that tiny little snippet and know really what it is that they're ready for, or if there needs to be education there. The next section in my intake form, it asks them, how would you like to receive help? Do they want to go it alone? Do they want accountability? Do they want to work one-on-one? Do they want to learn through podcasts? So now that is a section in my summary, so I know exactly the most effective ways that they are able to receive help from me. And then the last part is what I add in after I've had the appointment with them. Client will continue on a PPV basis. Client will continue with the 4200 program. Client will continue with our MSP therapy. So then I know at a glance, again, exactly what I'm doing to work on with them. So that is the case summary. That is a quick version of it, but you decide what you want in your template and then just make sure it's the same for every client after. That way you know exactly where to look. It ends up being just a short little paragraph. When I do my nutrition appointments, my case summary template has, their bowel movements are a 3 according to Bristol scale. So bowel movements 3, nutrition diagnosis is insufficient calorie intake, sleeps poorly. I might have the pillars in there. I might have a part in the case summary that says their diet, and I score it on 1 to 10, their stress levels, their bowel movements, what they're currently eating, what their nutrition diagnosis is, what's wrong with how they're currently eating. So these case summaries can be flexible, but it is about the pertinent information, and it should be the same template for every client that you work with from here. Number 2, the progress note. Some use a SOAP note. There are many charting options that you can use. I use a progress note. And the reason I do that is it is progressive. My notes are organic. They are a living document that keeps on moving as we work through with this client. So in my system, I write a progress note, an initial progress note, and then when they come back to see me, I duplicate that note and then I make any changes right to it. That way, what we worked on the last time that they were with me is already present right in front of me. I can see everything that we did. So last time you said that you were having a frequency of bowel movements 6 times a day. Where are you at today? Now I can delete that line and I can add the new information in. I'm deleting the line, but remember that note was already saved. So I'm not changing the original note. When I duplicate it, and I change and I can update right in that note. That is a new note now. It saves as a new note. It just allows the information within the note to carry forward. So it didn't change it back here. That's key to remember. When I have my intake forms, I have automated intake forms. I have intake that I said each question maps to a part on their case summary. It maps to a part on their progress note. That's the way I don't have to go in. They've already answered it once. Why do I have to go in and fill it in their progress note? So if they've said their sleep is poor, 1 out of 10, that answer automates it already right into my progress note. So I have now this case summary, which is a summarized version of everything that is now fleshed out in our progress note. So now as I'm doing interviewing with this client, I'm asking more details. It's not just what is in the summary. That is just a quick glance. The progress note now is where I get to write down more of their story. I get to ask more of the questions and I get to fill them in my progress note. So the progress note is an ongoing document. And then I duplicate it the next time that they're there. I update it any way I need to. So now let's say they've had 4, 5, 6 sessions with me. The 6th session can contain everything that we've ever talked about, or I can have deleted and updated for every note thereafter. So I like to keep a lot of my notes there so I can see what their progress was. Under the bowel movement section, it might have started off by saying a frequency of 20. Then the second visit, I can see it set a frequency of 13. And the third visit, I can see it set a frequency of 4. So I can see the progress right there in that note, or I can go back and I can look at each of the individual notes that I took and duplicated. The third note is the protocol. So I have a protocol template. Remember, all of my approach is systematized. It doesn't make each client a number. It makes each client more worthy, more valuable, more important. If I've got the system, I know exactly right where to look. It's so much more effective. It helps me to see each individual fact about that client more worthy to me because I know where to find it. I'm not searching for it, and it makes the client an individual within my system. So now the third part of the process is the protocol note. So the protocol, again, is a template. It goes right to, it maps date that we had the service, it maps when I created the note, and then I will have automated stored recommendations. So it's easier for me. I can quickly click, eat dairy-free, avoid congestors, 8 ounces 6 times a day in hydration, and I can click, 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 click. They now populate into that protocol. You do not have to have automations. It's just easier for me. You do not have to save your saved recommendations. That's just easier for me. In a protocol, I want to make sure that I've thought about their sleep, their exercise, their movement, their hydration, what we should be doing for diet, what we can suggest for supplements, and any therapies that are involved. So in my note, I have sections for each one of those things: diet, supplements, lifestyle recommendations. Now it's very easy for me. I can just pull over the saved recommendation and I don't have to type it out each time. Now, here's another beautiful thing. I wrote a book called I Speak Symptom. It has a tracker right in the front of the book. From there, each line in that tracker, like I wake up between 2 and 4 every morning, has a chapter. So you can go and there are strategies right within that. Now in my system, I've automated all of those saved recommendations. So all I have to type in my search is wakes 2 to 4 a.m. and everything that I wrote in that chapter populates. So now I can remove if it's not appropriate for this client, and I can keep it in if it's appropriate for that client. So yes, this has been a lot of data in the making, but it definitely is something that you can do as well. I can take you from the simple basics and help you walk through how to just create and do these manually if you'd like to, but I also teach people how to automate because it saves your stress levels, it saves your time, and you are much more efficient with each of your clients. So I hope that this information has been very helpful. I'm here to help you practice better. And if you want to go further, I don't want you just watching videos and trying to take it into your practice and not apply it right away. So take this information, put it down, go and take a look at your practice and see how your systems are set up. Do you have systems set up? If you want to learn more, you definitely should move into our Practitioners Protocol group where I teach people on an ongoing basis how to practice better and save themselves some stress and come up with effective protocols for the care of their clients. You can go to Amanda Wentland, WENTLAND.com to find out more. Hope this was helpful.